Darren, that victory on Saturday keeps your team in the hunt for those playoff spots. Do you see playing more games as an advantage over everybody else? Is there an element of you've done what you can and that now puts pressure on other teams?
Someone said to me the other day, we played just under something like 40, it was a weird stat, 46% of our games in 12 weeks. That's absolutely madness. You know, I couldn't believe when I heard it. You know, that if we were at that theory, the season would be 6 months. I mean, and we've gone through, and this is absolutely feeling sorry for myself. Borderline excuses. We've gone through it with 9 and 10 out at one time. It's been extraordinary. So to be able to give some of the players who played every minute of those 11 weeks some time to recover this week has been an absolute blessing, a real blessing. But it's been tough. It's been very tough. Adi said to me last week, and I watched it back after, he said how tired I looked on the Tuesday night against Notts County when we drew 2-2, and I looked shattered, and I was it was shattering. And I know some people out there will go, oh, come on, you do a brilliant job. It's a brilliant job when you're not getting battered every 2 minutes, by everything and everyone, but that's tiring. So I got to say it was a good call from Aid, because I was tired, mentally tired, and we lost Glenn Roder. I'd had his funeral the week before. I was emotionally shattered. Jimmy's funeral parade came past on the Thursday. It was a tiring week. So to be able to take stock and kind of mentally freshen up has been bliss, absolute bliss.
And I guess all of those things combined, don't they? It doesn't help that it comes in the running. We're getting close to that running of those final games. So how do you deal, and how does the squad deal with pressure at this point?
Well, I don't think there's too much pressure on us in terms of the outside, because I'm guessing what people would look at, I know what I would look at as a supporter. I'd be thinking, this is going to peter out, and this is going to be kind of mid-table, and we've not probably lived up to expectation, and so on and so forth. But inside the group, there's a huge desire. There's a huge desire to be to challenge and to make something happen. And I've always held a candle to this group of players that we're capable of doing 7, 8 wins in a row, 6 wins in a row, or something like that. So I think while we always hold that, I think we always hold out hope for a really strong finish. I also hold out hope for some of our 9 that have been out, or 8 or 7, to come back into the team. We know some are not going to make it, of course, but if we can get Wilkinson back in the team, he's a huge player for us. And when I look at the squad, and like I said, you only look at this when you've got time really to reflect, but I look at the squad, it's a good squad. But the availability of the squad has not been high enough. It's not been high enough at all, and that's made it very difficult. But if we can get Wilkinson back in, we can get Sanupe fitter, we can keep adding Warburton and players like that into our optimal group of players, then we'll be good. We'll be good to go, and we'll have a right old bash at it.
And Altrincham are next up on Good Friday. A win would put you above them, of course. It still is a race for the top 7. What are you expecting from them?
Well, based on the game that we had at Hewish, good football inside, very capable technically. You see they're coached, and they believe in what they do. And you've got to take your hat off to any group of people, any group of players, group of men that have full belief in what they do, and they do it, and they don't deter from it. Similar to ourselves, similar to us, and they see it through, and they've had a brilliant season. Let's make no bones about it. They've had a brilliant season, and I'm sure they'll still be, in Phil's like-minded press conference. I'm sure they'll still be talking about having a challenge and trying to compete and trying to get themselves in and around it. So it should be it was a very competitive game, the one at home. So I imagine it will be even tighter away.
Bit of admin to do before Saturday. Any injury updates from that game? And can you expect to see anybody back for the Easter?
No new injuries from the game. Wilkinson has trained most of this week. He didn't train today. We need to see if he would train tomorrow. That's probably a bit too soon. Maybe next Saturday for Luke. Collins has had a niggle in training this week where we've tried to push him that last little bit. So that's disappointing. So he may miss Friday. Bradley's still struggling. But Billy comes back in from international duty, which is a big one for us, because it frees up Skendi to maybe play in another position apart from centre half. So yes, I think that's where we are. I don't think there's too much to add from the Saturday's sort of availability, apart from maybe Colo not being right, but Bill coming back in. So yeah, I think that's it. It's quite a bit of a boring one, that one, isn't it?
Okay, I wanted to touch on Billy actually, because in terms of looking ahead long term, he's had such a good impact on the squad since he arrived. So the likes of Billy, Sass Davies, Michael Kelly's here on loan as well. Would you like to bring those players back to Hewish Park again when their loans end? Are you looking that far ahead?
Yeah, I think when you look at that scenario, Romeo Hutton's probably the best example, and Nerfield and someone like that. Sometimes they have such good loan spells that they then want to move on and sort of try the next bit. Romeo's had a season now, or 3/4 of a season now at Stevenage. I would say he's probably played probably just over a third of the games. So you look at how well he did for us last year, and then what he's in terms of what he's appeared for Stevenage this year, and you'd probably say he's in between the levels. I don't know. I'm just trying to use evidence. I'm sure Romeo wouldn't believe that, and I think that's how the parent clubs will kind of gauge it. I think Michael Kelly's different because he's out of contract in the summer, I believe, and that will be dependent on what Bristol Rovers want to do with him. Billy will definitely go back to Crewe, and I'm sure they'll try and move him on. Billy had League Two interest at the beginning of the season, so I'm sure that we've heightened that, especially now that he's back in the Welsh setup. And that's something we're very proud of, by the way, Terry and I, that he got called up for Wales after having 2 years without being called up. We're very proud of our players for those achievements. But I think those types of players, Josh Nerfield, I'm sure will want to go and test himself at a higher level. But Josh should not. Josh hadn't really sort of established himself at this level before us, so sometimes we're a victim of our own sort of timing and success, or coaching ability, if you like, in some ways, because these boys will obviously then want to go and do the next thing. So I'd love them all. I'd love them all back here. I hate change. I have a few criteria that I work to in terms of retain and release, in terms of participation and how many games people play and what they're contributing, because there's no point paying someone again to do nothing. That's just ridiculous. That's just poor business acumen. I've really enjoyed working. Michael Kelly has been one of the best young pros I've ever worked with. Wow, what a professional. And Billy in a different way as well, and Josh, Josh is bright-eyed and into the world seriously for the first time. So no, they've been good. They've been good, and they've masked over some of the disappointing signings that we made. At the beginning of the season, because the recruitment in the second part has been much better than the first part.
Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you look a lot better this time.
Couple of days sleeping on a Saturday night, aid helps.
Yeah, I expect so. Darren, basically, match management we were talking about. Well, that's what you call match management last Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it depends how you look at it. I actually, that's exactly what I said to them. Go and practice being 3-0 up. You're 3-0 up. Just be grown up, be mature, be professional. Don't be complacent. Keep the ball when there's a time to take the sting out of the game. Keep the ball. I thought we did that better. I thought we kept the ball better in stages second half. Not enough, but better than before. And I thought they managed it okay. You know, the goal was disappointing. I'm desperate for a clean sheet. Absolutely desperate for a clean sheet. But you know, the win was huge, and the first half performance was sensational. And I would say that with this current younger group, and the inconsistencies of the back four in terms of selection or availability even, we've probably got a really good 45 minutes in us most games. And if we take our chances like we did Saturday in those 45 minutes, like we did at Boreham Wood, like we did Saturday, you know, we're normally comfortable. We're normally comfortable. Then again, we weren't comfortable at Boreham Wood. Wow, my backside was going off on that one. But it is, you know, I think that's where we are, and developing a little bit more professionalism will help. But we got first-time campaigners playing. You know, they go through this, and you have to go through this. But the exciting thing is the squad for next year. You know, it's a really exciting young squad for next year, and if we add the right ingredients to it early enough, I think the squad will be really, really exciting. As good as we've had.
Looking at it generally, though, it must put a huge amount of confidence throughout the whole team when you go 3-0 up and you're absolutely cruising. Really, I mean, okay, you say you let one goal in, but nonetheless, you know, it was a sound performance for sure.
Yeah.
And everybody, certainly at half time, we were all purring.
Yeah, no. We played really well, and it's nice. From if I take away all the emotion and the management spiel and all that, as a coach, when you see the team reflect the practice of the training ground, it always kind of buffs up your ego a little bit as well. But Nerfill and Knowles played their roles absolutely perfectly first half, and Worthington was the catalyst for it all. And he wasn't a catalyst in an offensive way, he was a catalyst in a defensive way. Just wins the ball back so quickly. So we always get more opportunities to attack because he's in the team.
So fitness-wise, you say it's gradually coming back. You're near enough, sort of. There. What about Reece Murphy? You didn't mention him.
Murphy hasn't trained so far. He may get out tomorrow, but it all depends on how he reacts from the work he did today. He didn't train with the group today, but he may be able to get out there tomorrow. That's the same with a couple of them. But we're still, you know, Wilkinson's probably the one that we're pushing along a little bit quicker than the others at the moment.
The lockdown, obviously, as we all know, has been, you know, slackened off a little bit. The possibility of getting fans in is becoming a little bit more of a reality.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything unofficially as to where we might be going with that, or when it might happen?
No, I've not heard a thing. And Scott normally tells me stuff like that quite quickly. So I've not heard a thing, but we're desperate for him to be back. We are absolutely. Yeah. We've found it. I'll speak from the heart personally. It's not football, and I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it as much without him here. Just that little bit of interaction, that relationship we built, but also the supporters can feel more of the game when they're in the ground. You know, when I watched that game, I watched one game obviously when I was isolating the Maidenhead away game. It was torture, and you don't really get a feel for the emotion of the game. You don't really get a feel for the commitment of the players. You don't really get a feel for it. When they're here, they get a feel for it. They get much more of a feel for it. And what I truly believe is that they help us enormously at home. I know we've been good at home of late, but it took us ages. It took us ages to be good at home. And that our crowd is a huge asset to us winning football matches. even away from home. You know, I remember we went to Barnet last year and must have been 500-600 people in the away end. I think we had more there that day than they had from home support that day. You know, so even things like that, getting off the bus, seeing familiar faces, it's all psychological, and it's all very reassuring. So, you know, I really hope they are back very, very soon. I've missed them. I really have, and so have the players massively.
Imagine what they would have made of the 3-0 at half time on last Saturday. I mean, they would have been absolutely in raptures, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but you know, I think of the ones, Wilkinson's last minute goal against Torquay. You know, the goals that we scored first half. The goals that we scored against Weymouth, home and away. Can you imagine the noise there? You know, those derby games, because those derby games were huge for us last year. I mean, Torquay here last year on Boxing Day, where we won well. Massive, absolutely massive moments, memories for all of us. And then and obviously winning away with 10 men 2-0, and that whole away end being full, and just the memories that we share. That's all this is. It's memories that we share, because no one working for Yeovil is going to be a millionaire. No one's going to become rich from. It's all about memories. It's all about the experiences that you take away from you. I'll remember Torquay away for the rest of my life, and Aldershot away. You know, that Solihull away when Scott took over the club. I'll remember those moments for the rest of my life very clearly as well, vividly. They'll never kind of fade. So that's what I'm in it for. Blimey, if I was in it for money, I'd go and do something else. If I was in it for health, I'd definitely go and do something else. If I was in it to try and keep my family in one place and let them have one school and build a circle of friends, I'd do something else. But you cannot beat, as a football manager or a football player, some of the memories that you create with supporters. It's unbelievable. And I've got similar memories from Stevenage. You know, I've got similar moments there where great moments there, and you know that's what I hold closest, because like I said, when you go into football coaching and football management in and around the 4th, 5th, 3rd division, you know, you there's got to be something unbelievably great about it, because there's no unbelievably great financial remuneration from these jobs. But the memories you can make are just incredible, mate. And doing things like this, you know, and speaking to people, and incredible, absolutely incredible. So that's what I like. That's what I'm here for. That's all I do it for. Sounds a bit corny, I know, but when you don't think about it in the same way, when it's there all the time, you take it. It's like anything. You take it away, and all of a sudden it becomes bigger, bolder, better, brighter, more vivid. And I think they're great memories. Them games are just brilliant. The song where we, you know, the clap, all of those things, brilliant. They'll stay with me forever.
To me, and he said about Emmanuel Emenike.
Yes.
He said a long spell out of the side with injury, and Yeovil fans haven't seen too much of him since his arrival in November. Does his return almost feel like having a new signing, and perhaps remind fans what he can offer the side, especially with the other young players like Knowles and Nerfield, who are in such good form at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, Sanupe, if you excuse me, the supporters remember rightly, Sanupe was the one I put in the earliest, ahead of Knowles and Nerfield. But Knowles and Nerfield's ascent or progression has been excellent, very good, very pleasing. And what Emmanuel's now got to do, he's got to try and catch up, and you know, and I mean that because Nerfield and Knowles have made huge strides, and they've developed a trust and a bond between the players that when they play they're going to provide certain qualities to try and have a positive outcome on the game. Manuel now has got to try and show that he's got that. You know, there's some moments I see in training. I think, if only he can replicate that on a Saturday. You know, he'd be a really important player for us. He's a really good player, Emmanuel. Really good player. He's got brilliant education, brilliant background in the game, and he is going to be a big addition, a big asset to us from now until the end of the season. He's got a little bit more football maturity than maybe the other two. And what he's got to do now, he's got to try and catch up physically, because the other two physically are just astounding, absolutely astounding. But he's a good weapon to have. He's another ball carrier, another dribbler, and he'll be a big asset. And I've got to tell you, when Wilkinson's back, that will feel exactly the same with him, because it'll be like having a new player again.